let's transition over to one of the newer faces in the Big 12, the Cincinnati Bearcats, entering year 3 under Scott Satterfield. And it's worked out. He's been dealt a difficult hand, of course, moving to the Big 12. He had his high moments last year. They started 5-2, ended the year 0-5.
Yeah.
But Mitch, I kind of like Cincinnati this year. I'm really interested to see what they can put on the field. I think they've got one of the better under-the-radar quarterbacks in the conference in Brendan Sorsby. I like the defensive line on the other side of the ball. They've got 6 of the top defensive linemen from last year back. The receiving core is kind of all new, but I like the pieces they picked up. Yep. Jeff Caldwell, the guy looks really interesting. A big kid, 6'5", had over 1,000 yards at Lindenwood last year, so that's really interesting to me. I think Cincinnati could be a sleeper team, and I'm really trying to talk myself out of not being out on Cincinnati. I think I'm in on Cincinnati this year.
Well, and they had us in the first half, not going to lie meme last year. I mean, they were red hot. They would have made a bowl game had they not had that embarrassing collapse at home to Pitt. That was just like watching a car crash happen in front of your eyes. But yeah, very easily could have started 6-1, and then the offense just dried up. Suddenly they couldn't move the football. They were just getting outscored on a consistent level. So they beat Arizona State to go 5-2. That was the Jeff Sims game that we told you exactly what was going to happen there as soon as Leavitt had to miss that one. They then scored 23 against Colorado, 24 against West Virginia, 17 against Iowa State, 15 against Kansas State, and 13 against TCU. Objectively, a bunch of close losses, but the offense just could not find that last score to push them over the top. And so I do like Brendan Sorsby. I think he's a veteran arm in this league that gives them a real advantage. Evan Pryor is the running back there, former Ohio State guy, if I'm not mistaken. I do like the wide receiver core. You mentioned the kid from Lindenwood. They've got Caleb Goody, who comes over from Colorado State. Cyrus Allen comes over from Texas A&M. And then Joe Royer is back, all Big 12 selection at tight end last year. So I do like the defense. Very veteran group on the back end, returning a lot of starters. And you get incoming transfers in the secondary like Christian Harrison from Tennessee and Matthew McDoom from Coastal. I mean, yeah.
Great name. Fantastic name.
Certainly first or second ballot all-name team when it comes to college football, no doubt about that. The only thing that I worry about is just Satterfield finishing through the line. That's kind of been the conundrum throughout his coaching career is he can get some wins, but it always feels like he falls short of that ceiling. And so, the over-under, I believe, is 6.5. I could certainly see them getting to 7-8 wins. If that offense stays consistent, why not? I mean, in an era where there's just not a lot of returning production on a year in and year out basis, it feels like such an advantage when you do have a lot of the same guys coming back. So I'm with you there. I think Cincinnati could be a team that you absolutely do not want to see on your schedule and one that could pick you off if you have a down week.
Yeah. You mentioned a lot of the transfers there. Just want to throw one more. Tawee Walker at the running back position coming over from Wisconsin. I like that pickup a lot. I think this offense is going to be much improved this year. They were 1-4 in one-score games last year. Most of those losses came down the stretch when they were just trying to find that 6th win any way that they could. And the schedule isn't terrible this year. I think there's you mentioned 7 or 8 wins. There might even be a path, a very narrow one, but a path nonetheless to maybe even more than 7 or 8 wins, maybe as many as 9, I think. When you look at the schedule, they open against Nebraska at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. That's one weird neutral site game. Like there's not 2 that I'd have on my bingo cards that would be playing an opener in a neutral site game, but nonetheless they are. That's a really interesting game for both teams that I think is going to set the tone for a lot of things. Tough game against Bowling Green at home before closing out the non-conference portion with an FCS game. Then you get into the conference portion. Kansas is one of the biggest wild cards in the whole conference to me. We'll talk about them later, but I'm not sure what to expect. They do have to go on the road there. They host Iowa State and host Baylor in the month of October. But the road schedule really isn't awful when it comes to proven teams. So like Kansas is a big wild card. They go to Oklahoma State, who we talked about, that we don't know who they're going to be. They go to Utah to open November, and Utah is a team, another one that I think could be really, really good if the transfers hit, or closer to what we saw last year, vulnerable even at home. And they close the season at TCU, who's really good, but has shown some flaws as well. So the road schedule is not the worst that it could be, and I think they can pick a couple teams off at home like they showed against Arizona State last year.
Well, and if my homeschool math is doing me right, just 4 true road games this year, right? So a lot of the big opponents are at home, and they've got to weather those road trips to Utah and TCU in the final 4 weeks. But it feels like because of the schedule and the talent coming back, Cincinnati, if they get on a roll, look out. I think the Bearkats could absolutely be dangerous come November.
Yeah, they're just another team, man, that would not shock me in the slightest if they have a path to Arlington in the last couple of weeks of the season.